Hi and welcome to Marrin Weejali's podcast channel, Let's Talk, where clients share about their lived experience of recovery from addictions. My name is Koori, and on today's episode, we have Sam, who has been engaging with Marrin Weejali services for the last 6 months during Covid-19. If you would like to know more about Marrin Weejali services, please click on the links below. And now, Sam, welcome. How are you this morning?
I'm good.
Now, to start us off, could you share with us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing at the moment?
My name's Sam. I'm a single mum of 2 boys, early teenage boys. I work in community health. I've come from a history of drug and alcohol.
And where did you grow up?
I grew up down on the south coast.
And how has it been for you working in community health during COVID this year?
Hectic. It would be the right word. There's a lot more stuff that we have to do, and there's a lot more mental health conditions and people that we're focusing on, and we're really busy.
So you've been engaging with Marrin Weejali services throughout this year during COVID, but how did you originally find out about us and what were you needing help with?
So I started going to NA, Narcotics Anonymous, in early February, and a member from NA told me about it and gave me the number, and I sat on it for about a week or 2 and then decided I'd ring and do an intake. And the ladies were fantastic. There was no judgment. I was really, really pleased with that.
And what were you needing help with?
I originally had a drug and alcohol counsellor, and then it ended, but I could see that I still needed more support because it wasn't just getting off the drugs. It was like it's the support afterwards. Like getting off the actual drugs is just the start of your journey, and I could see that, and I was having thoughts about using. So that's why Marrin's been really important to help with that extra support afterwards.
Sam, can you take us back to some of your earliest memories from your childhood?
From the beginning, to me, the beginning starts with my biological parents because I was adopted. They were heroin users and they were court-ordered to go to rehab, and that's where I was conceived. I was picked up on my 2nd birthday, adoptive parents who I call mum and dad, and that's where I moved down to the south coast. Growing up, there was always sort of this unknown about the adoption and the biological parents, and everything sort of changed once I hit 18. I felt like I was split in half my whole life. Felt like half of me was meant to be this like so-called Dero, Druggo, that's where I came from thing, and the other half was what my adoptive parents had instilled in me. So I had to go and find out for myself.
So during your growing up years, what were some of your ambitions?
I originally wanted to be a police officer, and I found out I wouldn't be able to because of my eyesight, which was really upsetting for me. And then I thought, the Army or Air Force or Navy. But then again, my eyesight kept me out of those. So I felt really broken. It was something that I really wanted to do, be in a service position. And then I wanted to be an ambulance driver, and then I found out it was too short. Back then there was a height restriction. I just kept against walls constantly, so I fell into nursing.
And then how did drugs enter your life, Sam?
Mainly partners, boyfriends, friends, things like that who were doing it, who would convince, because originally I thought, you take drugs, you're going to die. That's what I was told.
Now, after the first couple of times you used, what impression did you form about drugs?
That you wouldn't die. It was a social, fun social thing. And I thought people liked me, that I worked better at my job, that I was accepted, things like that, yeah.
Now, I do want our listeners to know that it is very much possible for death to occur on the first time that you use, on the second time that you use, or on the 100th time that you use. It's very much unpredictable and could occur at any time, really. But for you, Sam, how and when did it become more than just a social thing?
It didn't take long because one's too many and 1,000's not enough, as they say. And that goes with anything. It didn't matter what substance it was, whether it was, drugs or alcohol. We would pick up the drugs and use it that night, and then the next morning I'm like, let's go get more, whereas other people were satisfied. So it just went from weekends and then it would trickle into weekends plus the Monday and Tuesday, and before you know it, you're doing it 7 days a week.
So from there, where did the drugs lead your life?
It led me into a world that I hadn't experienced before. It led me further and further away from the coast and up into the city and into the suburbs, people, places and things, and experiencing things and doing things that risky behaviour that I wouldn't otherwise have done. Getting in stolen cars, handing out, money to strangers, going to people's houses I didn't know.
And did you ever hit rock bottom?
No, I've had a few rock bottoms because I'm a poly user. So I would hit rock bottom with one substance and then quit that and then go on to something else and then hit rock bottom with that. Yeah, there's been a few times being kicked out of houses or had no money or no food. My adoptive parents saying that they don't want nothing to do with me. Family not talking to me.
And what do you imagine your parents were thinking and feeling at that time?
They were stressed, anxious, upset, worried. They were thinking, I know that my mum said, we did everything right. Why did she turn out like this? Why has she taken this road? They put so much time and effort. They waited 9 years to adopt, and they did everything. It just must be heartbreaking. But they also said that we know you're better than this and whatever else. But they also didn't understand. They hadn't come from that, world or experience.
Okay, now looking back, what do you think you had to overcome in order to get your life back on track?
A couple of things are really important. And early on, I learned about opiate use. I learned it's not as simple as just giving up the drugs. There's an emotional and a physical thing. So I learned a lot about that, and the lying and stealing and cheating. Also, I had to be ready. I had to want it. My mind, my outlook on things, that you are not where you come from, or I'm not my biological parents, that I am my own self and that I make my own path and I have the choice and the decision to do that.
Once you made the decision to change the direction of your life, did you come up against any barriers?
Yeah, there's a few. Because in the end, I was on the opiate replacement therapy program, and the barrier with that is the healthcare system and the doctors kept telling me that it was my medication and I'd be on it for the rest of my life. So people not believing in me, which is really difficult because you've burnt so many people and you want people to believe in you because you just need that little spark. And then the physical, like the body physical aspect is a barrier. And also being a single parent and working. I can't just take off and go to rehab. I've got kids to look after.
So how did you juggle all of that?
Very difficultly. Physically and emotionally it was really hard, but just reaching out for support